Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch every one and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they pledge you a lifelong commitment. Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Kermitment, the show where we watch the Muppets. Is that right?
Not at all. Welcome to Kermitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And here once again for the billionth time, 3 years running, I'm Sam Schultz.
Returning guest, Sam Schultz.
That's right.
He hasn't said no yet.
That's right. Keep inviting me. I'll keep doing it till a better offer comes along.
Don't send him a better offer. I can't do this on my own.
A better offer would be $1.
Any money. Well, this week we are here sort of continuing last week's 3-year anniversary celebration.
We're indulging. We're basking in it.
Yeah, by, getting a bunch of your questions answered that you sent us. So we're not only going to be reading some of your questions, answering them, but we are also going to discuss something very tangentially Muppet.
Less tangentially than I was expecting, honestly.
Yeah, there's like one slightly Muppety moment in this.
Well, co-written by Jerry Jewell.
So we're here today to discuss
the
1969 film The Cube, written by Jim Henson and Jerry Jewell. So clearly, the Muppet guys made this.
Featuring an appearance by
Mr. Jerry Nelson.
That's right.
And the voice of Jim Henson at one point.
Yep.
Very obviously. But we kind of skipped over The Cube when we were going through our normal chronological order when we got to 1969 because we weren't really sure if we should talk about it, if it counts as a Muppet thing. But at this point, it's a glaring omission in we pretty much talked about everything else they've done up to this point.
Yeah.
So we should probably go back and revisit it.
I like that we're talking about it when we're a little older and wiser.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I like that.
Yeah, it does feel like at the time, maybe we wouldn't have known
the guy was in a cube. That's what we would have said. Wow.
Or we would have lumped it in with 12 other things we watched that week.
That's true. Hour 14 is The Cube.
But we do want to answer some of your questions. And before we get into that, I want to say we get a lot of very nice emails from all of you out there. And we do, I promise, read all of your messages. I'm sorry if we don't have time to respond to all of them, but we will answer a bunch of them today, even going back through the catalog of, I dug into the inbox, searched out questions that we had received, and we pulled some of the older ones. So we might be answering it today, even if you think we forgot about it, when you sent it 8 months ago.
Don't say that. Just say our mailbags are overflowing from all of the prompts that we gave you to send us messages.
Yes, what Sam said. But, I feel like we promised it. We built up the hype, Sam. We got to start off the very first question of this mailbag episode. What is your favorite pasta shape?
Here's my question. Does ravioli count as a pasta shape? It is pasta.
I think so.
Not really it's not as universally useful as other pastas are. You know what I mean?
You can put so many things in there.
I guess that's true. I'd say ravioli is my favorite pasta. So fun to eat. How could you like anything better than a ravioli? One thing I love, bucatini. You know bucatini?
I don't know if I know bucatini by name.
The hollow spaghetti. I think that's fun. And I like that the spaghetti is called, do you ever buy the spaghetti and it says spaghetti number 5? You know that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know why it's called that.
I think it's just the gauge. It's the gauge.
Right. Is there a thickness of spaghettis?
Yeah.
What if I get spaghetti number 17?
I love picking up the spaghetti and thinking, ladies and gentlemen, spaghetti number 5. Think it every time. I love all pasta, frankly.
Honestly, I'm not picky. If you give me a red sauce, you toss any shape under that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy it.
There is one there's actually one I dislike,
Oh,
but I can't remember what it is. It's like a tube. It's like a biggish tube.
okay.
And there's some biggish tubes that are ribbed, and there's some biggish tubes that are smooth.
Mm-hmm.
I find the biggish tubes that are smooth, the sauce can't cling onto them.
Yeah.
It might be rigatoni, but whatever rigatoni brand I'm buying is too smooth. I love fusilli, a spiral.
Yeah.
Yum. That's what I'll usually get, honestly, because spaghetti can be fun, but it can get a little messy.
A long pasta is not my favorite.
Me either. I think society's moved past the need to make a long pasta. We can make a thicker pasta now, so we should do that. I love this next one too. Can I read this one?
Go for it.
Declan asks, "What's your favorite soup?" Oh, where do I start? I love so we used to have this sandwich place in Butte called Paul Bunyan's, and I'm sure whatever soup they were getting was just like Cisco, like not the singer, the brand of food. Cisco's back there making soup. Just like the soup you get off the truck, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But they had this broccoli cheddar soup. Unforgettable. I've never had anything like it. That's probably my favorite singular soup. But if I had a choice of soup, I think I would probably pick tomato soup. I love tomato soup. You don't have very strong soup opinions, it seems like, Matt.
Yeah, I'm trying to form some, and I don't know that I have any.
You're trying to
'cause I'm-
force a soup opinion.
I think I'm just a very basic soup enjoyer. Like I'll just take a Campbell's microwave tomato soup with a grilled cheese.
Ooh,
That's
that
fine
sounds
by
great.
me.
Yeah.
There was a specific soup that I don't think I should have loved, but was from this place that is now closed, sadly, in Missoula called Hobnob. They had a tomato soup that I'm convinced they called it like a chunky, creamy, whatever tomato soup. It seemed like just like a ragu chunky
Oh.
pasta sauce dumped in a bowl, and they just convinced me to eat it. It was the thickest soup I've ever eaten in my life.
Interesting.
But it was delicious.
Wow, I can picture it perfectly. I
Yeah.
never had it, but I think I've had bowls of tomato soup that verge much more towards a pasta sauce. For
Yeah, like
sure.
I wouldn't even
Especially in
describe
food.
it as a liquid necessarily. I think
Yeah.
that was like a gel.
Huh. So I prefer like a creamy tomato soup. You like a little bit more of a
I'll
spice
take whatever.
one, it sounds like. Yeah. Okay. So tomato
But
soup is your answer, basically.
tomato soup because I like to pair a soup with something. If I'm
Yeah.
having just a soup, it's probably more like a creamy chicken and dumpling kind of situation.
Yeah. I'm picturing you were that kid in that Campbell's commercial who was a snowman and walks in the house and then he
Absolutely
like puts his head over the Campbell's soup and then he and his stick arms become human arms. That always confused me.
That's what soup. That's the magic of soup, Sam.
Grows your arms back from stick form.
Well, see, these are the hot topic questions we'll be answering throughout this episode. But until we get to more of those simmering questions,
Like soup.
just like soup, Sam, what did we watch this week?
We watched The Cube. There's a guy and he wakes up and he's in a nondescript white tiled room, the titular cube, and he can't get out of it. He can't remember how he got there and he doesn't know how to get out. But he's not alone in the cube. A seemingly endless array of weird, wacky, and occasionally threatening characters are constantly wandering in and out of the room, teasing, tempting, and torturing him, offering nonsensical clues to where he is and how he can escape, or simply telling him that he'll die in the cube. Some of these characters even tell him that he is nothing but a character in a television play. So a good bulk of this thing is really just nonstop. People walking in, they do something weird. They make this guy feel like shit, and then they leave. Eventually, the prisoner has had enough, and he starts punching out his apparent captors, declaring that they cannot break him and make him forget who he is and that he's real and he's not just a guy on TV. His tormentors start to applaud him, and they let him out of the cube, where he's met by a guy in a nice suit who tells him that he did a good job and leads him into an office to do some paperwork that will secure his release from the cube. In the process of signing, however, the man cuts himself and discovers that his blood is strawberry jam, and then looks on in horror as the man and his office fade away, leaving only another cube, and he's still in the cube. The Cube. Rated R.
I don't think it's rated R.
Okay.
It did air on NBC. Notably at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Did it seriously?
Yeah. I've got some extra
Not a good
background
time
information.
slot.
No, it's not when you want to watch this thing. Yeah, I feel like this is a 2 a.m. watch.
Ooh,
Is
this
the
would be great.
ideal time.
Yeah, this had the. You're gonna go into it, but this had the tone of something that you would like watch on Adult Swim. Maybe if it was a little grosser, it would be like an Adult Swim special.
Yeah, more jam blood.
Yeah, yeah,
Stick this on an Adult Swim.
that would be great. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I got some background information around the Cube and what else was going on around this time for Jim Henson and the Muppets. Notably, timeline-wise, this comes just before the Wizard of Id pilot presentation, just before Hey Cinderella,
Oh wow.
and around the time they're doing some more Ed Sullivan performances. So, they haven't fully moved beyond. Like they have, it's not like they're trying to get away from puppets during this
Right.
time period. They're still doing their Muppet stuff. They just wanted to try something fun and different.
That's interesting because I do consider this to be more, like what's the word? Refined, more. I can't think of the right word, but it's like more put together than Hey Cinderella is. It's more sophisticated. That's what I'm thinking of. In like a way that it's hard for me to see the same group of people making both of those things.
Yeah, and they came out a month apart. But I want to run through some of the history of the Cube, all of this coming from a mix of Jim's Red Book, Muppet Wiki, and Brian J. Jones's biography. Going way back, you get to August 1961. This is when Jim wrote, Jerry Joins Us. So this is back when Jim and Jerry met. And I think we've talked about this a little bit before because this was one of the famous Puppetry Festival meetings in June of 1961. Jim met both Jerry Jewell and Frank Oz at the same Puppetry Festival in the same year in California. At that point, Frank was still in high school, so he didn't join the Muppets quite yet. But Jerry moved to Washington to start working alongside Jim that August. He started off as a puppeteer, playing our beloved Tamanella Grinderfall, but eventually gravitated more towards writing. He just didn't seem to enjoy puppeteering. And of course, he would go on to write on The Muppet Show, Fraggle Rock, and most of the other things the Muppets would do during his lifetime.
Was he a writer on the Jimmy Dean Show?
Yes, I think he had to work with the TV writers, but he was definitely credited as a writer on the Jimmy Dean Show.
Cool, okay.
So in October 1966, Jim writes in his journal, wrote The Cube with Jerry, NBC rejected.
Oh no. This guy's been he journaled his whole freaking life. That's
Thankfully,
commitment.
Yeah. So this is after they made Timepiece, which is the short little 8-9 minute, just highly stylized, edited short film. He and Jerry began developing a bunch of different ideas for experimental live action films and different TV projects. Jerry Jewell said, we were in a period of time when that story seemed fairly common about people trapped in situations and thinking they got out and then discovering that they didn't. So for them, this was like, yeah, of course we'd write that story. Everyone's writing that story. But they sat down to write what they described as an original surrealistic comedy that dramatizes the complex, baffling problems of reality versus illusion.
Okay.
So Bernie Brillstein got this over to NBC, and in a very nice rejection letter, the producer said that Jim was one of the most brilliant creative artists of our time, but that he saw, quote, no hope for it at any domestic network unless CBS turns out to be far more courageous and experimental than I expect them to be.
That's not very nice. That would make me feel bad.
Yeah, but they got really lucky because the following year, NBC decided to start a 1-hour Sunday afternoon program called NBC Experiment in Television. And that was conceived as an opportunity to develop new television formats and concepts. And so in 1968, they bought The Cube.
And that was who he shopped it to first.
I believe it was a producer at NBC is who they sent it over to.
Okay.
Or at least was tangentially related to NBC.
And then later they said, we need some weird shit. I know, just the thing.
We know some weird guys.
Yeah.
Also worth noting, around this time, Jim and Jerry tried another script after that first one failed. And this one ended up being called Tale of Sand. This one, like The Cube, had a protagonist who inexplicably finds himself in an unexpected setting, confronted by seemingly incongruous situations and characters, and is unable to control his own destiny.
Oh, try again.
Yep, that one never made it past the screenplay stage, but in 2012, they turned it into a graphic novel that you
Have you read that?
I have it. I have not yet read it.
Me too.
I figured I'd hold on and wait, and we could talk about it at some point in an episode.
It would be hard to wrap your head around this just as a script. I do feel like that would be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. So then they get the go ahead, and boy, did this thing happen fast. February 8th, 1969, Jim writes, "Go to Toronto, tape the cube." FB 10 through 15, edit 16 and 17, show to NBC February 18th.
Whoa. What was the first day of that?
So February 8th, he flies to Toronto to tape the cube.
He did
I
it in
think
like 10 days.
they film it in 5 days and then edit it in 2 days to show it to NBC the next day.
What the hell?
And then 5 days later, it was on TV.
Are you serious? That's insane.
He left to go to Toronto on February 8th, and it was on TV on February 23rd.
Wow. That's like incomprehensible.
The confidence that NBC must have had in Jim Henson. Again, for some reason, the man hasn't done anything yet.
Well, it is Sunday at 4:30, and they just needed something. That's what I feel like it probably was. They probably were like, yeah, you're going to make this. You're going to make it in 10 days or else.
But just to take the man who is known for doing puppet things on Ed Sullivan and Jimmy Dean and say, you, sir, get to make a live-action movie with no puppets.
Yeah.
You get 5 days to make it. We expect it to be on the air in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, that is a big ask and a lot of faith, even if it is just like, you're a dumb kid, you'll do whatever we say. It's still like, who could possibly do that?
You don't even have time to make changes.
How did they build the cube? It would take me 2 months to build the cube.
And it's a pretty elaborate cube, too. There's lots of...
so many doors.
The doors open. Yeah. So then, yes, on February 23rd, 1969, a Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the cube would air on NBC. And then people reacted, and reviews were mixed, Sam.
That tracks.
Seemed like viewers and critics either loved it or hate it. There's very little middle ground. But the highlight of reactions to this is one viewer, a Mr. Dion from California, sent in an angry letter complaining that, quote, "The most disciplined attention I could give the cube was a belch from the grave of Marcus Aurelius, occasioned, I might add, by the dead weight of its own dust caving in on itself." 2 weeks after Mr. Dion sent that letter, Jim sent a reply that said simply, "Dear Mr. Dion, what the fuck are you talking about? Yours truly, Jim Henson."
I love that so much.
I kind of get it. Like, I don't get his reaction, but I get having a weird reaction to this weird ass movie.
Yeah, that's true. You're in an altered mind space after you watch it. And you're like, I got to match this weirdo where he is.
But even though reactions were a bit mixed, NBC replayed this on TV on February 21st, 1971, for some reason. I think they were just re-airing all of their experiment in television, probably.
Huh.
And then the Henson Company released the cube on iTunes in July 2008, but then it was removed around 2016. That remains the only commercial release of this to date. And then for a while, the cube was available to stream on Filmstruck from late 2017 to May 2018, when Henson pulled all their content from the service. And then in fall 2018, a company called Fandor acquired the streaming rights to the film. And then Fandor stopped existing in late 2019. So right now, I believe the cube is only available to watch on YouTube. Well, before we get into your feelings on the cube, we got to dive into some more questions here, Sam. Somebody asked, Sam, you occasionally mention watching Star Trek. As a big Trekkie myself, I was wondering what your history with Star Trek is and what shows you've seen. Also, what are some of your favorite characters or episodes? And I will remind you, Sam, we don't have 3 hours to answer this.
Okay. I don't think it's fair to call me a big Trekkie. Not fair to actual big Trekkies, I would say. My history with Star Trek, though, is that my parents used to watch it, Next Generation, when it would come on, wherever, whatever channel it came on, syndication. And I just remember one of my most core memories is the sound that the ship makes. Do you ever watch Star Trek?
Not enough to know what you're talking about.
In the background of Next Generation, throughout, in any scene you watch, there's basically like a noise machine almost. That's just like
Gotcha.
always every
Yeah.
scene on the ship, that's in the background. And I can remember as a kid, that sound was just like the most. It was just like my parents are here, they're watching TV, this rules. And yeah, I think my parents had like the VHSs of it. I think it's just Next Generation is something that I've always watched and always been like a comfort show to me. I've watched quite a bit of Deep Space Nine. I think Deep Space Nine is a better show than Next Generation in a lot of respects. I think it has some more interesting characters and stories, but Next Generation is just like got that comfort place in my heart. Some of my favorite characters are Quark from Deep Space Nine. He rules. He's so funny. And his brother Rom. They're Ferengis. So the Ferengis are like this race of like, they're like Daffy Duck basically. They're like
All right.
all greedy and just want to like gamble and make money and stuff and trick people. And they like are mad all the time. But Rom learns about socialism and like unions pretty early on in the series Deep Space Nine. So then he starts to like unionize the people who work on the space station and is kind of at odds with his brother, and they're great. I think Worf and Data from Next Generation are like two. Worf is like one of the best fictional characters of all time. Just like he's just like such a cutie. He's like the classic like big mean guy who's really just like a cute little baby, and that's one of my favorite types of guys. Yeah, I'll stop there. My favorite, my favorite episodes though are probably everybody's favorite episode, like the one where Captain Picard gets zapped into the satellite and he lives his whole life, this whole like fake life where he has a wife and children and stuff, and then he gets zapped back to the spaceship and he was like, "Where's my family?" And then the people are like, "You were only gone for like 2 minutes, Captain Picard." And then throughout the rest of the series, he like learned how to play the flute inside of this little like spaceship simulation, so he remembers how to play the flute, and he just is like, "Oh, back when I was married to that fake lady." That's a great one. There's so many great ones though that it's hard to pick. And Deep Space Nine is just O'Brien in Deep Space Nine, the most shit upon Irishman in the whole entire universe, who just only bad things happen to him, but he's so plucky. God bless him. Yeah, I love Star Trek so much, and it's what I put on when I like sweep the house or like, when I'm
It's your
cleaning.
comfort show.
Star Trek is my go-to. Well, Matt, relatedly, Matt asks, did you ask this question yourself?
It is not me.
Okay. Matt asks, I remember you talking about consuming all Star Wars canon content that's ever been released. I was curious, have you kept up with that project? If so, what have your thoughts about the High Republic era been, and are you looking forward to The Acolyte?
I'm keeping up with it much slower than I used to. I used to buy the new comics every week and read them immediately and keep up with that. Nowadays, I still buy the comics, and they are stacking up in a box of comics going unread, unfortunately.
That's devotion.
Well, I mean, I have my pull list at the comic book shop, so I just go in and pick up my stack of Star Wars comics. And so I am buying them. I'm unfortunately not reading them as fast as I am buying them anymore, so I have to catch up. And I think part of that is because I haven't fallen in love with the High Republic era. I think the main thing for me in relation to that is that it's an entirely new era in Star Wars, devoid of context. Like,
wait, now, is this like a comic that's covering the High Republic?
Comics,
or what?
novels.
Okay.
These started coming out a few years ago. That take place 200 to 300 years before Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
So Yoda's there, of course, young, strapping stud Yoda.
Yeah.
But nothing else is the same. Like literally everything about this world is very different from what you know from any other Star Wars.
Okay.
So for me, it's just hard to sort of latch onto, because when I'm reading, comics that are set after Return of the Jedi, I'm like, okay, so this is before that and after this. I know where I'm at. I know what's going on. I know what world I'm in. This is harder for me to relate to just because I'm like, I don't, like, sure, I just have to, there's so much buy-in that has to happen that when they tell me, like, this is the biggest event in this timeline, it's their Death Star explosion, I'm like, okay, I believe you.
Right.
But it doesn't feel as impactful as knowing, like, if I'm reading a comic about somebody reacting to the Death Star explosion in After a New Hope, I know the context of that.
You're like, I was there, man.
Yeah, I lived it.
Are you excited for The Acolyte?
I will say yes, because I think that is one of the things that will make me more interested in going back and reading
Yeah.
some more of the High Republic stuff, is seeing it realized
Mm-hmm.
in live action.
That trailer looked fun.
Yeah. I don't necessarily trust Disney right now with their original shows, but it looked all right.
I think Carrie Ann Moss is a great fit for Star Wars. I do feel like she's gonna die immediately. Doesn't
See, I
seem
don't
like
feel like
she.
she'll die, but I feel like she'll be a mysterious lurking villain or something like that you see for like 5 minutes
Oh,
total.
I thought it. To me, it looked like she was like the first victim who gets killed.
I mean, that could also be. But
by the
regardless, I
serial
think we're
killer.
both on the same page that she's not going to have a lot of screen time.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, getting into the cube, Sam, and don't freak out, but you can never leave. That's the rules.
You're gonna die here.
Yeah, you're going to
Not
die
only
here.
can you never leave, we're just gonna straight up say you're gonna die in the cube, and we'll sing a song about it too.
What'd you think of the cube?
I loved the cube.
You loved the cube.
I'm a cube head. I was
Those the guys from
not-
Gumby?
That's the blockheads, but
Oh,
I'm
same
their
thing.
dad. I'm their dad. I'm their more intellectual brother, the cube head.
Oh, blockheads, eh?
Yeah. I was not looking forward necessarily to watching this,
Yeah.
just because I have like a maybe love-hate relationship with some of Jim's weirder stuff.
Right.
I think he can tend to get pretentious, and I think this is a little pretentious.
Yeah,
but this
definitely
is-
falls in that category.
This is very like, this is just my level of pretension, and
Mm,
I think it helped that there was funny stuff in this that I genuinely thought was quite funny, and that probably has a lot to do with Jerry Jewell. But I thought it was a really great mix of Jim pretension with like a little bit of Muppet chaos happening at the same time. And I could easily see Kermit being in the cube and then just like Crazy Harry come in and be like, I'm gonna kill ya. Just kidding. And leave the cube.
yeah, a Muppet version of this would be very
Yeah.
funny, with Gonzo coming in on a tricycle, just riding around saying, "You're gonna die
You're gonna
here."
die
and-
here. What did you think of the cube?
Yeah, I think I liked it. I didn't love it as much as it sounds like you did. But I liked it for the same reasons you did, in that it dances on that line of pretentious, but allows itself to be silly sometimes, and it knows that it is pretentious and silly. And I think that's probably what Jerry Jewell is saying about like a lot of media was doing this around the time.
Yeah.
Like they know they're tapping into a thing that they are not the first ones to do this. So
Right.
they're having fun with it. And there are a lot of really great lines that, even if there's not like a great context for them, just the fact that a human said these words made me happy.
Like what?
What the hell am I going to do with 4 tons of chocolate rabbits?
Yeah. I liked that guy. One thing I thought this did really well was it took people like Arnie, the handyman, and it did a really good job of like slow, what's that called? Slow boil? No.
Slow burn?
Slow burning.
Yeah.
Slow burning them to become like creepy. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to see Arnie anymore. At first, it seems like Arnie's your only friend, but by the end, you're like, Arnie's not my friend.
Arnie's
Nobody's
fucking
my
with me.
friend. Yeah.
Give me a phone that can only call him. What a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, the one, when this first started up, this felt very 80s, which I think shows that like they were experimenting with some technology here.
Yeah.
That this feels a little ahead of its time. But I think where I landed on this is what you're talking about with the slow burn of the character reveals and just the world building here. It felt a little like season 1 of The Good Place.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Like, just like you don't really know what's going on, but you're getting hints slowly rolled out. You meet a new person. You're like, oh, okay, this is the good guy. It's like, oh, no. You can't trust them either.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a great connection. It does. And it feels ahead of its time in the humor as well. It just is like, and the acting, you're right. It doesn't feel like something from the 60s, but at the same time, it could be in black and white and be an episode of The Twilight Zone too.
Right. But yeah, from the start, it had me. The opening credit just says featuring Richard Shaw as the man in the cube. And you know when they make like T-shirts of like a movie credit on a T-shirt?
Yeah, we
like
should
I
make
kind of
that.
just want featuring Richard Shaw as the man in the cube in that very 80s computer font.
Let's do a Man Who's Gonna Stop Us.
Just get an email from Brian Henson being like, ahem,
Please don't.
do not mention the cube.
We don't talk about the cube anymore.
You should. I think it's worth discussing.
I think so too.
And I think it, like, again, I think I had the same apprehension about watching this as you did, because I thought it would just be an hour-long pretentious thing.
Uh-huh.
And I think it starts off in a way that still had me concerned, because it starts off with very expositional dialogue of this guy going, no door, no windows,
I'm
just
stuck
wide
in the damn
walls.
cube.
And you're
Yeah.
like, if this is the energy we're bringing to the next hour, I'm going to have a bad time.
I think at the beginning of it, I was like, this is taking so long. We're only 10 minutes into the
Yeah.
cube. And I think I was still in that mode. And I was like checking to see how much longer the cube was going to be on for.
That's fair. But if
then I
you
gave myself to the cube.
got to give yourself to the
You
cube.
gotta give it up for the cube. Really liked. I thought it was so funny when those kind of like Nazi kind of dudes came in, and they were like asking him like, where is it, and then they start like opening every panel in the cube, and they're like, uncut diamonds, gold, classified documents, hostages. That was when I was like, okay, this is pretty good.
Yeah, they arrest him for a number of crimes.
Yeah, and then when he's handcuffed for like a considerable amount of time, and it just is like, I don't know, something about. I think I liked it so much because something about it really got to me.
They also handcuffed him very weirdly. Like his hands are down, like between his legs.
Yeah,
like he's handcuffed around his crotch, sort of. Which is just not a way I've ever seen anyone get handcuffed.
Yeah, what the hell?
I don't know why we're both doing it right now, but we're both trying to like move our hands.
He like gets his foot between he gets his feet out.
Yeah,
but I can't do that. I don't think.
You don't think so?
I think I can. So.
Oh, I don't think I can.
I think I'm too old. I think the guy in the cube was younger than us.
Oh no, I can't do it, Sam. I thought I could lift my leg over my hands, and I can't do it.
Maybe he's got really long arms, and that's why it looks so weird.
Or really short legs.
Maybe they were like, we gotta have a guy with really long arms.
Okay, yeah, he was like 40.
Good. Okay, so
I was really afraid we were.
We're just. That makes me feel worse, honestly.
Because we are close. We're not as far off as you were afraid.
Because we can't do that, and he could.
Well, Sam, let's pause to ask you another question from the fans. This one comes from @RustyandDanny on Instagram, who asks, would you rather have Alf be a recurring character in Fraggle Rock or Sesame Street?
Sesame Street.
Wow. That was a very quick answer.
I think Sesame Street deserves Alf, and Alf deserves Sesame Street. I don't think the poor Fraggles need to be annoyed with Alf's shenanigans. And he'd be like a Cromulus Crump. What's his name? The bad guy. That guy, you know?
Wow.
Nasty Ned Noggin. Something like that.
It's neither of those for sure. But now all I can hear is Cromulus Crump.
But it could be either of those guys, right? What the hell was that guy's name? Eastus West? Something like that.
Wander McMooch is the name you're searching for.
He would be like a Wander McMooch, where he'd just steal all their money. Alf's mean. And that's something that I didn't really know about Alf until we watched the Alf movie for our birthday thing. Alf's not a nice person. He's a bad person. But I think on the mean streets of New York City, which is where Sesame Street is, Alf would fit in better. And I think he'd have more foils who are like too stupid to fall for his meanness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's Oscar the Grouch almost. He's like Oscar the Grouch with a veneer of like used car salesman. Hey, come on, bud. You can trust me. But the Fraggles would be putty in his hands. They'd be screwed.
See, I picture him hanging out with Doc.
He could live with Doc, and Doc would get...
Maybe Ned Schimmelfinney is Alf's cover.
Doc already gets so mad, though. Can you imagine how mad he would get at Alf? He would die. If he gets that mad at Sprocket, who doesn't do anything, and is just like, hey, I love you. You saw how mad Willie would get at Alf.
I think I can imagine a one-off special appearance by Alf on Sesame Street. I can't imagine him being a regular character there. It's like when we talked about Leo the Party Monster. Like, Leo the Party Monster is too much for Sesame Street.
Yeah, it would be like, remember in the 70s when there were like 4 episodes with this weird guy named Alf, and everybody hated him, and he never came back.
But if he was just like a regular part of the Doc storylines...
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't be that weird, would it? Yeah. He looks much more like a Fraggle Rock guy.
Got a Fraggle nose.
He's got a Fraggle face, yeah. Mostly my stance is just, I don't think Alf should be anywhere near the Fraggles, because he'd probably eat them. You know, he'd do something bad.
I think he could hang out and be a terrible Wander McMooch kind of character if he wanted
Yeah.
to. But I also think he would be better served if, he's just somebody Uncle Traveling Matt ran into out in the world.
my new friend Alf.
I met a weird Fraggle today.
We should all be so lucky. What an interesting question, by the way. Thank you for your creativity and your questions.
Well, I actually want to follow up that with a different one from @Rusty and Danny, who asked, "How would you make a Land of Gorch reboot?"
I think that towards the end of the Land of Gorch run, when they knew that they were losers and they weren't going to be on the show very much longer, and there were some cast members who you could tell actually liked them. I think that was them at the peak of their power.
Right.
I think a straggler Land of Gorch Muppet just inexplicably hanging out in Saturday Night Live is fun and is something that could still exist. I think nowadays people would think it was like corny and stupid, but I do think that was as close to working as it ever got, was when whoever that Scred, is that who it was?
Yeah,
The one
Scred.
who kind of had a little bit more heat. Like, I think he was a valid part of Saturday Night Live. So I would just keep that around, or like try to maintain that energy. I don't think it should be a show or anything. They're too nasty. And I think
No,
dinosaurs
'cause-
already kind of did the same thing that they were.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I think you can easily try to make that dinosaurs, but then it just falls into the same sitcom tropes that
Right.
dinosaurs does. But like dinosaurs has the arc of sitcom but dinosaurs, and this is just like sitcom but nasty creatures.
Weird nasty guys. Yeah.
So I think staying, like, honestly, I think like the way they were on SNL was pretty good for them. Like that's kind of the way that they
It's kind of what they
were best-
deserved in a weird way.
Yeah, but I could see them being used as like a segment in a sort of Muppets Now-ish show where, like, if you did a variety show that is truly a variety show where you have an animated segment, you have some throwback characters that don't interact with everybody else, like it's not necessarily like a live stage show like the Muppet Show, but you can have little one-off things that don't need to connect to each other. I think you could work in a Land of Gorch thing.
Right. I like that. I think that makes sense.
I also don't think he needs to come back. It's one of those things where I'd love to see Scred pop up on something, but I don't think he needs to.
Yeah. I do think a lot about that skit where they're throwing a Christmas party that nobody came to because everybody went
Candace
to the
Bergen shows up.
Yeah, and everybody went to the Bees Christmas party.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't know. That's just the kind of thing I like. I loved that season of Saturday Night Live with how much it built upon itself, and it was so self-referential by the end, and like so many in jokes, and like that skit just being like one of the, like, the bees, what the hell are the bees? Land of Gorch, what the hell is this? Candace Bergen's there all the time for some reason, and yeah, it's just this thing everybody hates, and we're making a joke about that. I think it would have been fun to watch that on TV and be like, yeah, those puppets do suck ass. You're right. Nobody would go to their party.
Yeah, I'm excited because they're making that SNL 1975 movie
right
about the first season of SNL. And
where that guy's not playing Jim Henson.
Yeah, that's a whole... We don't know who's playing Jim Henson yet, but somebody is supposed to be playing Jim Henson and Frank Oz. So the Land of Gorch Muppets presumably will be in this movie.
Yeah, it'd be weird if they weren't.
Yeah. So I don't know like much. We don't know much about this movie and like how it's structured. So it could be like a one-off scene where you see Lorne Michaels being like, "Guys, you got to go," or we could see a whole recreation of a Land of Gorch sketch.
Yeah, he'll say, "Guys, you gotta want to go," and then they'll walk away and be like, "Oh, if my name isn't Jim Henson, I swear I'll be the most famous puppeteer of all time." Right,
like, sir,
Frank Oz?
You already are. Sesame Street exists.
I wonder if they'll even have, like, would they potentially not have the rights to the Land of Gorch puppets? Would it be like the Land of Borch and they were like kind of different guys?
Oh God, I hope not.
That would be so annoying to only me and you.
But I also want to mention that right now, Devin, my wife, is reading a book called The Blues Brothers, An Epic Friendship, The Rise of Improv, and the Making of an American Film Classic, which she said is a very good book, but also she says spends a lot of time talking about early SNL, specifically talks about the Muppets and how no one liked them.
Oh, come on.
SNL. So that's another avenue if anyone wants to read some more information about those. Land of Gorge Muppets.
Lily Tomlin liked them, and Lily Tomlin's opinion counts for something to me.
Getting back to the cube, a band shows up to rehearse in the cube at one point, and this is when I was watching it, I was like, okay, this is our clearest indication of the metaphor that is being used here. I understand what's going on, Sam.
Okay, wait. Okay, continue.
So in the lyrics, they're saying there are places that contain you. There are corners in your soul, plastic laminations in your life. But when you're on the inside of the outside of your thoughts, do they restrain or do you stay yourself? You're really in the middle of the inside of yourself, and there's only one thing we can say. You'll never get out. You'll never get out. You'll never get out till you're dead.
So is this like they had me in the first half where you were like, he's going to learn an important lesson about himself. And then at the end, it was like, you'll just be a skeleton in here.
Yep, precisely. I was like, oh, so it's about like him not being able to make decisions, or he's stuck at a point in his life where he feels like he has to make a big drastic change or something, and that is being represented inside of his brain by this cube. And I was like, okay. And then like, and also there's no hope it'll ever change and you're gonna die in here.
It's kind of funny that he carries that with him through the rest of the thing, where he's like, at last I finally get it. I am myself, and that is also all for naught. I do find that that's like, you explaining it that way does feel very similar to themes that you maybe would see in the Muppet Show, where it is kind of like in a much less cosmically horrifying way. You are stuck doing the same thing over and over again. I know there's other stuff we've watched of theirs that has been like that, but maybe there's like a lot of skits on the Muppet Show that are sort of like that, or like Gonzo.
Well, this is something Jim has just been obsessed with. Like he had the song "Tick-Toxic," which is about sort of the like mundane, repetitious life. Timepiece is about that a bit. So it is something that Jim has been interested in discussing and exploring, and I think this kind of does that. I think it also tries to be a lot of other things at the same time.
Yeah, I'm curious what you think it is about.
Ooh, I mean, it's really easy to say it's about figuring out what's real and not real in your life.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and then what, I guess, is the next question of like, but how is that a transferable thing that he learns and could potentially take into a real life if that exists even outside of the cube?
Maybe that's part of like why that is not the lesson, because it is like, this is just a completely like saccharine lesson that you would learn on TV, except you're just gonna die here. Yeah, I think to me it feels like it probably was about this when it came out, but to me it feels like a piece that has maybe more meaning nowadays, where everybody's online. And it did feel like when you're on Twitter or something and people are coming into your space. And I think in this, it's probably television is really what he's talking about and thinking of, or like mass media. But when you're just like minding your own business and then you see like a decapitated head or something on your timeline and you're like, well, I didn't want to see that and I'll never be able to forget it. Or you're just like minding your own business and then somebody's like, actually, Star Wars is horrible and you're an idiot for liking it. And you're like, well, I like it, but now I guess it's like a war to like that. Or just like people invading your inner space all the time and not being able to like stop these people from opening the panel in your cube and like shooting a gun at you a couple times.
Well, and it feels like, and I think these things aren't separate. I think it's saying like, you would be happier if you didn't ask questions. Like, just stop questioning the cube. Accept the cube.
Just go along with the cube and everything's going to be kind of okay. We're going to pull your fingernails out maybe, but
don't worry about the cube down the hall. That doesn't matter. Don't worry about the hole in the side. Don't worry if you're on TV. Just don't ask questions. But then other times there are characters who confront him and make him realize that he's not asking the right questions. In one twist I did not see coming, Don Crawford plays a character credited as Black Militant, comes into the cube, and suddenly it seems like the metaphor for the cube is the main character is racist. Because he's talking about how the cube is so safe and well made and you should feel really well protected. But then he says, there's just, there's one thing about this place I don't really care for. It's white. It's nice, it's safe, and you made it, and you're going to stay in it until you die. This is a mausoleum to whiteness, a
Yeah.
temple pure as the new fallen snow, and I hope you like it because you deserve it. So they're making this in, 1968, 1969, it comes out. This is like peak Black Panther Party popularity in America as far as like, prevalence, like seeing them on TV, talking about them. And so I am sure Jim and Jerry are wanting to respond to the civil rights movement and what's going on in America at this time. But as you said, maybe they weren't the ones best suited to tackle this topic. And also, if you're going to tackle it because they move on from this so quickly and it has no impact on anything before or after.
Yeah, that's why I think I kind of also wonder if that wasn't an attempt to, I don't know, maybe poke fun at at things that were like, because it's like this guy is he's like so desperate to make meaning. It's like superficial meaning.
Like a performative.
Yeah, it's like performative in a way, but it's like people, if you think about this as like, this is a TV show, like they tell him he's in a TV show. If you think about it as like, this is a TV show, then yeah, it is like, it's performative of like, oh, here's this TV show that's trying to capitalize on this thing that's happening to be more relevant, but it's really just like a bunch of bullshit television stuff.
Well, especially if like the payoff of this is that guy is an actor hired at this scientific facility to come in and
Yeah,
mess with him.
right.
This is not necessarily, in this example, an actual Black Panther Party member coming in trying to tell this guy
Yeah.
anything about his life. This is an actor who's been hired to get a rise out of this guy.
Right. Or like an actor who's been hired to like destroy meaning in some way.
Right. And so then it's more of like, what is the more nefarious reason
Right.
this weird scientific whatever
Yeah.
it is laboratory that's got this guy in a cube is sending these people in there, and what are they trying
Yeah.
to train out of him or into him?
Or it was just a stupid idea that Jim and Jerry had.
That's
And
honestly the more likely thing, is they were just trying to think of anything. Like there's so
yeah.
many ideas in this that like we are focusing on this one quite a bit, but
Yeah.
there is
It's
a
just a really
lot.
like, it is a heavy part of this show that is otherwise like not like this. It is
Right.
really interesting.
Like, for example, before this, you have a scientist come in and say the line, I've got a platypus down the hall with a nasty case of dysentery.
Also, right before this is when the psychiatrist comes in and he's like, "You're on TV, bud. This is all a big TV show," and then shows him the end. This part was scary. He shows him the end of the show, and he's like, "See
But
what a
he
happy ending it
doesn't,
is."
which
And then,
upset me.
but at the end, and then he sees himself in the TV, and he's like, "You gotta help me. This isn't right. I gotta get out of here." That part I found legitimately pretty creepy. Also, while we're talking about this, I'm realizing that I think maybe the perfect form of the cube would be an escape room. I would love to be in a cube escape room. Wouldn't that be fun?
I mean, but it's so instead of like having things to like puzzles to solve, it's people coming in and bringing things in
Yeah.
sporadically.
And when they leave something, and you have to like try to piece
I
together
do
what
like
it all
that.
means.
That like you are in an escape room, but it's just literally an empty room that you cannot escape.
Or yeah, at least it starts out that way.
Yeah.
And then maybe
I like it.
I like it
Call
too.
us Henson
and
Company.
we're gonna- yeah, build the cube escape room.
Build the
Only-
cube.
Only like a decade after escape rooms were cool. It's not too late.
And many decades after the cube was relevant.
Yeah, if the cube was ever relevant.
Well, but after that scene, a party appears around him, and they appear to be in a discussion about the film itself. At one point, a guy is saying, it had no dramatic value, no structure at all. What is the point of it all?
And I think that was Jerry Jewell.
Jerry Jewell is in this. I don't know if he's the one.
Oh, he's one of the
saying those
party
lines.
guys, though, right?
Yeah, he's walking
Yeah.
around with a pipe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. I don't think it was that guy.
But then at one point, a young woman comes in and starts to tell him, you can't trust anybody.
This was my favorite part because that lady, there's like one, they kind of fuck it up a little bit halfway through.
Yeah.
But yeah, this like cute lady comes in and she's like, "Hi, how's it going? I'm so sorry you're in the cube." And the way that she transitions to being like, her face literally changes later, but at first she's just like, goes from a nice face to like such a mean face. And she's like, "You can't trust anybody. You can't trust me." And it's just so skin crawling. It kind of goes overboard when she turns into a nasty old witch. I think that was a little too far. But this
Well,
part's
and
just like, ugh.
I think they do a really good job of like she starts to morph her face a little bit before they actually bring in the
Yeah.
other actress. And especially when you're watching it at like 240p quality
I
on
think that
YouTube, like
covered a
we have
lot
to
of stuff.
watch it,
Yeah.
it's even more convincing because you don't quite know the moment it switches from one actress to
Yeah.
the other.
Totally.
But worth noting, Sam, the first woman, the young woman, is Trudy Young, who would go on to play Princess Melora in The Frog Prince.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
That is the princess from The Frog Prince.
And these were both filmed in Canada. When were they filmed in relation to each other? Do you?
I think it's at least a year or two apart. Like, I don't
Okay.
think it was back to back or anything like that.
Okay.
But I was looking to be like, did anybody else in this besides the obvious, like Jerry Nelson and Jerry Jewell, go on to do anything with the Muppets? And the answer is not really, except for Trudy Young, who would go on to play the princess in The Frog Prince. Well, before we continue with the cube, Sam, it's time for some more questions from the audience. Here's a quick one that, I think we've answered before, but just for any newer listeners. How did we meet and become friends?
Oh, we both work for the same guy.
Yeah, we both work in a company called Complexly, which makes a bunch of educational YouTube series. The company is owned by John and Hank Green. If you know those authors / YouTube men, we work for those guys.
That's how we met. I guess how we become friends. Kind of through this a little bit, but not really. We were friends before this.
Yeah, and I think just working together in the same building and then talking about things like Star Wars and Muppets, etc.
Yeah.
Being on other friends' old podcasts, talking about movies.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, it probably was Nick's fault that we're friends.
Yeah, Nick Jenkins, former guest of Kermitment, had a podcast called Real Bad, where we'd go on and talk about bad movies a lot. And I'm sure we were on many an episode together.
Talking about media.
Mm-hmm.
But, and also we just live in the same kind of small town where there's not that many people our age to be friends with in some ways. Yeah.
We're friends by default is what Sam is saying.
No. We've done many a bar crawl together, many a game night together.
Yeah,
so.
We've done Disneyland. We've done VidCon.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, actually, that's probably one of the ways we most became friends.
I think VidCon 2015.
VidCon. Yes, that's got to be it.
We hung out a lot at VidCon 2015, literally staying up until like 6 a.m, hanging out with other coworkers.
After walking around for 5 days beforehand all day, and then walking around Disneyland all day, because we were however old we were.
Which 9 years younger than we are now.
Which is not as old as we are anymore. And today we'd just be like, go a lot. Yeah.
Well, it's 9:30 already? Oh boy, I got to get to bed.
I guess I'll go to bed as well. See you tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning. Okay, bye.
This is what your 30s is like, folks.
Yeah. It's fun in a lot of ways because my brain works better, but that was
in spite of everything we were doing back then.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
I'm so curious to know the answer to this question I don't understand. Matt asks Justin, are you more of a Lewis Hamilton fan or a Mercedes fan? Will you cheer for Ferrari in 2025?
Well, thank you, Justin, for asking this. This is a Formula One question for those that don't know. Lewis Hamilton is a driver, been driving in Formula One since 2007. Yes, I think that's right. But currently drives for Mercedes, has driven for Mercedes for like 10 years. This last year, he just announced, I'm going to Ferrari, which is a really big deal in the world of Formula One, which is why Justin is asking this. Because I've only been, watching F1 for like a year and a half, 2 years, I don't have super strong loyalties. But I will say I think I am mostly a Lewis Hamilton fan because he is the only F1 driver who has a real personality. He will actually post things he cares about on Instagram, like taking political stances that I agree with. And so it's easy to support him because he seems like a guy who actually cares about things. And so many of the other ones, listen, all F1 drivers, including Lewis Hamilton, were raised to drive cars from like age 3 in go-karts and then had to like quit. Yes. And then most of them quit school at like age 14 or 15 to go race full time.
Really?
Yep. And
that's
so
crazy.
this is a very specific kind of man we're talking about when it comes to Formula One racers. So it does not surprise me that a lot of them don't have great media training or street smarts when it comes to how they're posting things and being a very present human being in the world.
Are a lot of them wealthy?
Oh, they are immensely
Okay,
wealthy.
okay.
Lewis Hamilton makes $44 million a year.
Okay. I mean, were they
Salary
wealthy
alone.
before? Like, are a lot of them wealthy from wealth?
50-50, I would say.
Okay.
Some of them come from very rich families. Some of them, their dads were drivers. Other ones, like Lewis Hamilton and some other ones, their families have to like scrimp and save to get them because karting costs like $100,000 when they're kids.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's a choice of like, you are going to pay so much money to send your kid to go-karting across Europe or whatever.
Go-karting. That's where a lot of them started.
That's where they all start when they're like 4 years old, go-karting. And then when they're like 14, 15, most of them will like move to Europe to go race exclusively for money and prizes and sponsors, etc.
That is very interesting.
So
is what you're saying a common thing? Like, are most people Lewis Hamilton fans over Mercedes fans, or is it bad what you're saying? Are you supposed to be loyal to the car?
I think I think everyone is very different. I think some people have a favorite person and they also have a favorite team, and those aren't always the same. Like some people's favorite team might be McLaren, but their favorite driver is Lewis Hamilton. And their favorite driver might be Charles Leclerc, but they might love Red Bull. Like these kinds of things. And I think that happens sometimes. A lot of times the two do align. But I think loyalty is often to the driver first. And if that driver moves to another team, you can be swayed away from your team. I think people who have been watching longer, like for decades, probably have more of a loyalty to a team. Because it's sort of like, Tom Brady. Are you a Tom Brady fan or are you a Patriots fan? And so if Tom Brady gets traded, even if he's been playing for the Patriots for 10 years, are you going to root for Tom Brady as a Buccaneer? Or are you going to keep rooting for the Patriots when they face Tom Brady?
Right.
It's that kind of thing.
Okay.
All that to say, I like Ferrari. I'll probably root for Ferrari next year. Mercedes has been doing a lot of dumb things this year that I don't agree with. So maybe I'll become a Ferrari fan next year. But I think, continue to be a Lewis Hamilton fan regardless.
It would be a tough pill to swallow if your 4-year-old was like, I've decided I'll be a race car driver. And you got to be like, oh boy, looking ahead at how much money you're going to spend on that.
Yeah, because there's stories of Esteban Ocon is one who like his parents sold their house and like moved into a trailer to be able to afford his career. And like thankfully it seems like he's paid them back and bought them a house these days.
Sure,
but
I would hope so.
Yeah, there are definitely families who sacrifice a lot to get them in there, and then other ones are billionaires who pay to get their sons to be drivers.
Yeah.
Because they're like, hey, I'll buy your F1 team if you make my son a driver.
How long have you been a fan of it?
I think it was middle of 2022.
Okay.
I think it was summer 2022 is when I dove into watching Drive to Survive on Netflix.
Oh,
and
right.
then
yeah.
I like watched all of that, and it was really coincidentally during their summer break. And so I finished watching all of it, and then there was a race on like the next week, and I was like, oh, I'll watch this.
There's probably you doing that recorded on this podcast.
Oh, absolutely. And I was like, I think I'm getting into F1. And now it's like, look at my 10 F1 Lego cars I have.
They're pretty cool.
It's almost like I have ADHD and very specific obsessions that take over my life for periods of a time. I will actually answer. Somebody sent in a question about ADHD. It's a bit more straightforward and serious than some of these other ones. But Declan said, Matt, you've talked a few times about your ADHD and some strategies you have with it. I was wondering if you have any advice or suggestions for creating with ADHD. I wish I could honestly say yes and help you, but I don't know that I have great advice to offer because I struggle with it constantly. It is a thing where I have some systems that work for me, but I know they don't work for everyone. The spreadsheets we use for Kermitment are chaos to anyone else besides me. But if you ask me what we're talking about 6 months from now, I'll know the answer.
They got dates on them. I can.
They're color coded.
Yeah.
There's some systems in there, but honestly, for me, it's about like writing down handwritten to-do lists every single day, and just trying to also take it easy on myself and remind myself that yeah, my brain doesn't want me to succeed in every situation. It is fighting against me, and sometimes it will win. And so sometimes, I just walk away from the desk, take a sit, and either, do a little meditation, play a little video games, and try not to feel guilty about not always being productive.
I think that's great advice.
I just have to try to remember to also take my own advice.
Uh-huh.
'Cause I think for me,
Yeah.
my biggest issues with ADHD, honestly, are the going through a whole day feeling like you accomplished nothing, and then spending the evening feeling guilty about not accomplishing anything, and then saying, well, tomorrow will be the most productive day a human has ever had.
That's the mistake.
Just you wait until
That's not good.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow, you don't become the most productive human that's ever lived because that's impossible. And then you beat yourself up more and feel even more guilty.
It doesn't do anybody any favors to think about the future in any aspects. You just gotta write it out, baby.
Live in the now.
Yeah.
Live in the cube. Well, speaking of living in the now, let's get back to the cube, where
The cube.
the man in the cube is living when a monk shows up, played by Mr. Jerry Nelson himself. This is before he had done anything major with the Muppets.
Oh, wow.
He had been hired in the mid-'60s, I think like 65, and did some right-handing for Ralph on Jimmy Dean's show and some background like reindeers on Ed Sullivan. But his first like breakout notable character for us is Featherstone in Hey Cinderella, which
yeah.
was like just around the same time. It's the same month as this. But he has not yet been Featherstone, let alone Floyd or any of his other notorious characters.
Yeah.
And so he's sort of making his on-screen premiere is as himself.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, not in puppet form.
So the first time you hear, I suppose maybe you can hear his voice as one of the reindeer or something like that.
There's a chance, but yeah, as far as I know, the first time chronologically we would be hearing Jerry Nelson's voice is Jerry Nelson on screen as a monk in the cube.
That's amazing. What a great piece of trivia. That may or may not be true.
But he brings in the Ramadar, which is a weird sticky orb that sticks to the wall.
How do they stick it to the wall?
I mean, it's probably just got tape on it, but the quality is so bad we can't see the tape.
That's true. The whole time I was wondering, like, as someone who's built terrible sets, I was like, how did they build this? So many doors.
The doors open at one point. It opens like a garage door, like the whole side lifts up into the air. And yeah, I don't know if they just have like every square is openable and they just choose which ones to lock and open. But it seems impossible to actually build this.
Yeah, I would love to see the other side of the cube and see what it looks like and how it's all put together. Or if there were maybe multiple cubes like that.
I feel like for some scenes there would have had to have been multiple cubes.
Right.
But he tells the man to meditate on the Ramadar and it will bring you peace. Instead, the man breaks the Ramadar. Well, then a casket gets delivered to the cube. And after the casket gets delivered, the man looks over and sees a gun appear on a chair next to him. And he decides, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to pull the trigger. There is no bang, but there is a spray of jelly. And in this moment, we reveal that it's the worst episode of Punk'd you've ever seen because everyone comes out and is like, dude, it's just a joke. Calm down. And he starts throwing punches, which I guess fair. But he does, I remember who he punches out first. But the first punch he throws, I was a little shocked.
Mm-hmm. He punches a guy who looks like Arnie who isn't Arnie. The tall clown guy.
Oh, right. There was a comedy duo that comes in at one point.
Yeah, and those guys were scary when they're like, why don't you laugh at us? That would have been maybe part when I was in the cube, I'd be like, I don't want to be in the cube anymore. If they said you have to be in the cube, you'll be out in 2 days. Would you spend 2 days in the cube?
What's the benefit? Are they going to give me a prize?
Just to see what it's like.
Then no. Why would I do that?
Seems like a bad place to be, but I maybe would be curious.
I feel like that's just a Mr. Beast video.
Oh yeah, Mr. Beast should do the cube.
I think he's done the cube.
He put everybody in a cube from age.
Yeah, he put 100 people in a cube.
1 to 99. Yeah, the 40-something-year-old guy won. Good for him. 40-something-year-old guys need a win once in a while, Matt.
We're not them yet.
We will be. We have to look out for ourselves.
That's aspirational. You're like,
Yeah.
40-year-old guy won something, I guess.
At least I have this to look forward to. When Mr. Beast puts me in the cube, I'll win.
Mr. Beast, put us in the cube.
Please, Mr. Beast, we want to be in the cube.
Can we wear Kermitment shirts from free marketing on your show? That's the trade-off. That's what we get. If you can
Just
survive 2 days in the cube, he'll promote Kermitment on the Mr. Beast YouTube
Mr.
channel.
Beast, that would be worth it. Actually, probably would be great.
It probably
It'd be
would, which
great
is
for us.
That's if you wanted to know how much our souls are worth.
It's Mr. Beast saying, he just had to say, Kermitment, Google it. And then that would be all he'd need to say. And I'd spend 2 days in the cube. Maybe he'd have to wear the hat. The keep believing, keep pretending hat. Say, buy this hat. Oh, if Mr. Beast told him to buy the hat, we'd be rich. We wouldn't have to do the podcast anymore.
That's true. Wait, that's the trade-off? What? we're just hat salesmen now?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was our ultimate goal, Sam, is to become hat salesmen.
As soon as the hats make us rich, we're out of here.
That is not my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is to finish the Kermitment. Well, the man ends up standing up for himself to this crowd of people who just say they pranked him, and he walks out the door. He gets to leave.
Everybody clapped. It's an everybody clapped moment.
But he walks out into the hallway, and a doctor, just some guy, I don't know if we've even met him before, is like, hey, you got to come into my office to sign your release papers before you can go.
Great job in the cube, buddy.
You won cube.
He does say you got out of the cube way faster than we thought you were going to.
There's a lot of very good but menacing lines dropped in throughout this of when some guy is revealed to be an actor and he's like, but what's with all the other cubes?
Yeah.
He's like, hey, he was just ignore that.
Yeah. Those mentions of the other cube, I really liked that. When
it felt like Portal to me.
Totally. This is very, now that you mentioned that, I think you even start out one of the portals kind of stuck inside of like a cube kind of thing like this, and you have to kind of work your way out of it.
I think both portals you kind of start off.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like an isolated cube.
Huh. I wonder if I genuinely am wondering now if they watched the cube, because there's so many white panels.
Yeah. He's like, what if this guy had a cool gun though?
This guy needs a gun.
This guy needs a cool gun.
He's got the jam gun.
What if instead of jam,
cool.
It was a portal?
I'm like 40% sure that that's really what happens.
I feel like I've played that game with commentary on before, and I don't remember Jim Henson mention.
Cube.
But maybe they're trying to avoid litigation, so they don't mention Jim Henson.
We definitely never watched the cube.
Well, of course, as Sam mentioned earlier, while he is trying to sign his release papers, the man offers him a cigarette and questions him about, like, well, how'd you know what was real and what was fake? The man's like, well, of course I'm real.
He's hot dogging it too much.
Do I not bleed?
Problem. Yeah.
And as he cuts himself, he realizes he bleeds strawberry jam. And he's still in the cube.
But you know when that guy's like, step into my office, that office is another cube, right?
Oh, yeah. There's no way he's getting out of there.
Because he's going to die in there.
And that's the end, folks. The credits come up. He's still in the cube. And boy, did I wish it was the same exact credits we saw on the TV earlier.
Well, it's unnerving this way that it wasn't.
I just would have really liked the payoff. Like, obviously they didn't earn it because the whole thing that they show earlier is that he's there with a woman, he's happy and healthy, and so they're trying to get him to accept his life in the cube of like, look, you're happy, you're healthy, you got the girl in the end. What do you have to complain about? And they don't earn that ending.
Right.
But I would have liked them to, and give it enough time, because that's like the exact halfway point of this movie is that. And so I would like them to give us enough time to forget about that, and then bring it back at the end, and we're like, oh shit, it's what we saw earlier. He is stuck forever.
Yeah, just really like in the very end, when it's just like, yeah, I think that would have been really effective. I liked how it ended this way too, but I think you're right. It was, they probably like tried to figure that out themselves, but.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, when would they have filmed the ending if this is actually the ending? Like, how did they shoot this out of order or whatever they did? And come to find out, it didn't matter because they didn't use that ending.
Right.
But I was...
that's an interesting question, though.
Yeah, I was curious about how they were going to get there. And I think it makes it more menacing for me if it cycles back and you see that the predicted ending is
Yeah.
what happened to him. Like we
That's
were all
true.
told this is the way it ends.
Yeah,
And
that's
so if
true.
you see
I
that
think
pop
you're
up on the
right.
screen, you're like, oh, they weren't lying about this. It
Uh-huh.
is how it ends.
Yeah, I think
And
you're
him
right.
talking to the
I'm on your
TV,
side.
being like, help, would be more
That would be
towards us
scary.
as
Yeah,
opposed
totally.
to he seems to have just accepted his fate.
But he knows he's talking to himself outside of the TV
Mm-hmm.
too. Ah, creepy.
Yeah.
Really, in a lot of ways, this did like light up a lot of the same parts of my brain as a good episode of the Twilight Zone.
And maybe that's
Like,
what it should have been. Just like a
yeah,
little shorter on the Twilight Zone. Boom. I mean, I would love to see Jim Henson Twilight Zone episode. It'd probably be this, but I'm like,
yeah.
I would like an official collaboration.
It would be great to see Rod Serling introduce a Jim Henson thing. That would be quite the cultural crossover. Do you feel like you learned anything about Jim or Jerry or the Muppets from the Cube?
I feel like I see a part of Jim and Jerry that is interesting and I think speaks to that part of Jim that just wanted to be on TV and
Oh,
didn't care
great
if it was
point.
puppetry or not.
Right.
Because to me, this is them trying to see, like, hey, maybe this will work. Because what if this was extremely successful?
Yeah, a
And
different
then
universe
they
where
become David Lynch.
yeah, a different universe where it's like in the 60s Jim was doing some wild stuff with puppets, but now he's won, 20 Academy Awards and makes
Right.
avant-garde horror films or something.
Yeah.
Uh
Like, I think this is a
yeah.
glimpse into an alternate reality Jim that could have been had
Yeah.
this been the thing that succeeded.
I think it was pretty good too. I think there is a possibility that if it had a better time slot, or if it was like, I don't know, maybe if it had been made into a proper short film or something. I don't know. There's a space for this, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it is more than anything just to look into what could have been.
Well, I think that does it for our thoughts on the Cube. But let's wrap up by answering some more of these audience questions, Sam. We got a bunch
Yeah, we
more to
really do.
get through here. I guess this is a quick one. Yes or no? Do your partners listen to the podcast?
No, of course not. My wife doesn't listen to this or tangents. She hears enough of me.
My wife does.
Hi, Devin. That's nice. I'm glad that she does. Why does she?
I don't know. I've never thought to ask.
Yeah, maybe don't prod. Maybe don't look into it.
Yeah. Question from Declan. What's your favorite Pokemon?
Gosh. I'm old, so I only know a lot of Gen 1 guys. When I was a kid, I loved Psyduck. He was probably my favorite. I have an affinity for Gengar. I think he's a good one. But I think Psyduck's probably like when Psyduck shows up, I'm like Psyduck. Love that guy.
I feel that way about Cubone.
Oh, Cubone's a great one too.
Cubone's got such a tragic backstory.
Yeah.
And he's just one of the more interesting Pokemon.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite overall has got to be Incineroar.
Oh, Incineroar is fantastic. I saw a tweet the other day that was like somebody else was like, I'm an old guy and I really only care about like the old Pokemon, but you can't beat Incineroar. A professional wrestling like lion who is on fire is pretty good.
Yeah, precisely. He's great to use in Smash.
Yeah,
and
fun.
He wears a wrestling belt, and he's a giant cat man. But the fun fact, which doesn't necessarily play into why he's my favorite, but is a nice little added bonus Kermitment connection, is that the voice of Incineroar is Tyler Bunch, the man behind Louie, Elmo's dad.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
That's
and also,
amazing.
I believe the man responsible for the word Thoggina.
Oh, no. Incineroar, why? Here's one from Cole. Probably another fast one. Will you ever visit the Jim Henson studio?
If they'll have us.
If they'll have us. Yeah, I really am not joking when I do. Like, I think if we can figure out how to, it would be great to have a road trip, go to a bunch of different places. That would probably be a hard one to go to because it's an actual functioning studio.
Well, so yes and no. So we could potentially go to the Jim Henson studio because they do the Puppet Up performances at the Jim Henson studio.
Right.
And if you pay for the VIP tickets, you get to meet Brian Henson.
Okay, well, there you go.
So the main problem with that has been so far is that they announce these things about 3 weeks before they happen, and they're in
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
And it takes 3 weeks to get out of Montana
Yeah.
for
The-
less
like
than like several $1,000s.
Right. And so if we had even a month or two more heads up that these things were happening,
Yeah.
we would probably go to one of these.
So if you work for Jim Henson Studios, tell them schedule at least one a little farther out.
Or at least tell us.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
As soon as you know, leak it to us.
Yeah.
Because the next one's happening in like early April. And obviously we're not going to that one because that's now. One from Hannah. Which Muppet would you love to perform?
Oh, I want to put my hand in Rolf so bad. I want to feel how any of them feel inside. I think I would be a kind of person who would like to perform when they didn't have like extra eye mechanisms inside, just a
Mm,
straight up like blah 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 blah.
right.
But I'm curious what like Fozzie's eyebrows feel like and stuff like that. Rolf would really just be like, I want to be enveloped in Rolf, which is such a like a boring answer, but I think he'd be a fun one.
See, I want to try on Big Bird.
Oh, I would love when I was listening to Ryan Dillon talk about he only put Big Bird on once. I was like, some people must put on Big Bird and think this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be inside of Big Bird.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that reaction from myself.
Yeah.
But I think after going through the work of making the Big Bird pants for my Carol Spinney Halloween costume,
Right.
I was like, no, well, now I want to try on the top. Like, I want the whole experience. I want to put my hand up in his head, have a little TV monitor on my chest that works. And I just want to be in Big Bird for like a minute.
Here's what I've been thinking about lately for some reason. You think they're ever gonna make a Big Bird where there's like cameras in his eyes and you have like a VR headset on?
Ooh,
And you're like, I am Big Bird now.
that feels more disorienting somehow.
Yeah, maybe it would be.
I don't
Maybe
like
not,
it.
because you like know where your head was. I don't know.
I think more the question for me is like, there's some things about Big Bird where I'm like, it's so simple that the best solution they found in 1969 that continues to be the best solution for his hands is that he just has a fishing line through a hook in his chin that like
Yeah.
lets his hands balance each other, and that they've never tried to think of a different idea for that. They're like, no, this is fine. This works.
When he goes out in the town, does he have the fishing line? Like,
It depends on what he's doing. Sometimes he just has his other hand pinned to his side.
right.
And then other times, depending on how they're shooting something,
Yeah.
there'll be a second person controlling the other hand.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't. I would think if you went out on a public appearance as Big Bird, you wouldn't necessarily want the fishing line because people would be like, "The hell is that?"
Or you might strangle someone when you go to hug them.
Yeah. Oh, hugging. I forgot about hugging.
So they probably just pin one of the arms down when he's out at public
Right.
appearances.
Well, you'd know this if you ever got to be inside a Big Bird.
Come on, Sesame. Let me get inside, Big Bird. What's the harm?
Here's a question I'm curious about too. Bill asks, I've been a fan of your show for a while now. Thanks, Bill. And I wanted to ask a question. Do you have any plans to cover the sci-fi series Farscape? Yes, I would imagine so. Maybe?
Yeah, I think this actually goes along with this other question from Noah. It says that we mentioned in an episode of the Fraggle Rock season 3 finale, we mentioned Bagoonie, who is a great Muppet, who goes on to appear in Moppatop's shop. And a lot of characters, it turns out, end up being used on Moppatop's shop. And Noah says, while not 100% all Muppets, technically, it is definitely a Muppet show. Will you be watching it eventually? If so, I'm so sorry. It's like 260 episodes.
How?
I hope it's not too bad. It's not until 1999, so you've got quite a while.
Maybe has to fall under the Sesame Street banner of it's physically impossible for us to watch all of it.
I think both of these, I think the larger question to any questions like this is that it's a case-by-case thing, but we will definitely talk about them in some capacity. Whether or not we are watching every episode of Mop Top Shop and talking about it, I think as we get closer to 1999 to see what's going on in that time frame, to see what we can do, we'll decide. For Farscape, it's not that many episodes. Nick Jenkins has already laid claim to being on that episode whenever we get there.
Right.
So I am sure we will talk about every episode of Farscape, whether that's one episode or 4 episodes. Who knows?
Declan asks, do you think you could take any of the full-size Muppet monsters in a fight? I feel like the only one I couldn't maybe take in a fight is Sweetums.
Wow, that's a
think-
bold statement, I
I think the
think.
rest of them would be easy to knock over.
LaChoy Dragon.
Oh, he shoots fire. I wouldn't be able to take him.
You're
I'd
dead.
be dead meat, my
Instantly.
friend. I guess these are two different questions. One is, are they real in this scenario, or are they people in suits? If they're people in suits,
Oh, they gotta be real, I think, for this scenario.
If they're people in suits, I think I could beat up any of them. This is my answer. I think I'd beat up any of them except Sweetums. I feel like the person in Sweetums would really just go like Tasmanian devil crazy and just like punch me and like
Yeah.
put my head in his mouth and just like I think the
I still
rest of the
think
guys
you're
would go
in
pushover.
danger with LaChoy Dragon then, though, by those rules.
I was gonna say real or imaginary, I 100% know I couldn't beat LaTroy Dragon.
One of the most chaotic Muppets that exists.
Yeah.
Does not care about burning down a kitchen. He
Yeah.
will set you on fire immediately if he sees you looking anything like near aggressive towards him.
Yeah. If they were real, I don't think there's any of them I could beat. Right?
Thog?
No, because I think Thog is really strong, is my guess.
That's true. Like he's sweet,
so big.
but he might accidentally break you in half.
I don't know that I could kill him without a weapon, and it doesn't seem like a scenario where I'd necessarily have a weapon. It's just a fight.
Yeah.
So
maybe a mutation.
I would be afraid that their touch would be corrosive somehow.
They're very lanky too. Like I
Yeah.
feel like they got the reach on me.
Yeah. The name
So-
mutation always makes me think of that guy in RoboCop who melts at the end. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like that is what, like, if he hadn't gotten hit by RoboCop's car and splattered, he would have eventually turned into one of those guys. That's what I always think of. So I feel like they have some kind of toxic waste power. Long story short, I don't know that, but they're scary too. They just seem like they have too many joints or something like that. So no, I think they'd all kill me, and they'd have fun doing it.
This one comes from MV Art on Instagram. They asked, what Muppet would you more like to see return in a new movie or series that hasn't been seen in years? So, we're talking our Bean Bunnies, our maybe Rizzo's even count at this point, our Cliffords,
Yeah,
our Salmon Friends.
Rizzo and Bean Bunny would be high on my list. It was like Rizzo is just like one of like from my era of Muppets, and seems like a huge omission in the world of the Muppets. Like he's a character type that is not covered already, and I love him. I love that little guy.
It's also, I think he's one of the more glaring omissions in Muppets projects today because he was around until 2015 very consistently, and then just has been gone since Steve Whitmire got fired.
Yeah.
So I think he's the one that they haven't replaced the performer of, and because he was around so much, it is weird that he's no longer around.
Yeah.
Like the 2015 series, like him, Pepe, and Gonzo are so inseparable in that series.
Yeah.
That the fact that like now it's just Pepe and Gonzo hanging out at the Haunted Mansion.
They just don't mention Rizzo anymore.
Yeah.
They had a falling out.
But I would also love to see older characters get their due again, whether it's a Hilda or a Clifford or even a Gorch work in Scred somewhere. I would love to see them throw some of those in occasionally. And I feel like if, we get more Disney Plus Muppets series eventually, hopefully there's some room for other characters. Because I like when they introduce new people like Penny on Muppets Mayhem. But I now look at it as like, will we ever see Penny again?
Yeah. I always wonder the same thing. It's like, yeah, because it's great to introduce new people, but it is kind of like, it's like when they make new Godzilla movies and they create a new monster, and it's like, you could have just used, Anguirus, and everybody would have liked that better. And now we're not, nobody like knows about who this monster is. Penny, I think, is different than that situation because people did love Penny.
Yeah, no, I think if Muppets Mayhem continued for another season, I think Penny would be a strong enough character in a strong show that could have continued on to future Muppet projects.
Yeah.
I wonder now, like internally, how they think about Penny as a Muppet.
Yeah.
And like if she's going to be sort of like a Walter where she shows up in the background of some things, but she's not going to be like a main player again.
She's very specific. Like
she's big. She'd be hard to just throw into a background scene.
Yeah.
But I mean, they still make room for like Big Mean Carl and Behemoth and stuff. So they've got room for Penny.
Yeah.
Interesting question from Declan that I'm not even sure as I'm asking it, I have a good answer. But the question is, are there any cases where you think a new performer for a Muppet improved upon or developed an interesting aspect of the Muppet's voice or character? I honestly will say, and I don't, this is not just because he was just on the podcast, but I do think Ryan Dillon has added a lot to Elmo.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to say for what Kevin Clash did with Elmo. Obviously, Elmo does not exist without the work that Kevin Clash did
Yeah.
in the 80s and 90s. But we talked about it a bit of some of the ways that Ryan likes to play with Elmo when he's doing talk shows and things. And there
Yeah.
is a
He's
certain
indulgent, he
quality.
said. And I
Yes, he
think
says,
that's fun. Yeah.
and he talks. There's a video that I think was for like Wired or Variety or one of those GQ kind of videos that they're interviewing Ryan, and he talks about the eye mechanism that like he can pull down and have Elmo go a little bit like cross-eyed, pull his eyes into his head a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And I think in that too, he's like, I probably use that a little bit too much. And I think like those little touches where you get to see somebody take a character, recreate what someone has done, but then add elements to it
Yeah.
is really interesting. And I think you get to see that with some characters more than others.
Yeah, I think I've talked about before that it feels like the Sesame Street Muppets survive those changeovers better for
Right.
some reason. I don't know if it's just because like Jim's Kermit voice is so specific, so that's something people hone in on, or like Frank's Piggy voice is so specific because it's like I don't know, Ernie's voice is very specific too, but it's like I don't know. It's just so interesting that maybe those characters are just stronger or they're more universal in a way that it's like that you can just accept that their voices are a little different and they're acting a little bit different.
No,
Um,
I know exactly what you mean, and I also don't know how to articulate it
yeah,
precisely because I think it's true that you're looking at characters who also have only had, like two performers ever.
yeah.
But yet for some reason you don't hear people talking about, I
Grover's
don't like
different
Ernie's
now.
new voice,
Yeah,
or I don't like Cookie Monster's new voice, or
yeah.
Oscar's new voice. Like I feel like I hear more about like the puppet design problems on Sesame Street that people like they don't
Mm,
like the look of a new Oscar, but
mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't hear people talking about
Yeah,
Cookie Monster's voice.
yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of the problem also is just that the Disney stable of Muppets don't get used as much and as well as
Yeah.
they should, and the Sesame Street Muppets are out all the time. Like you can't just because I'm me, I probably see one every day. But like at least on Twitter, you can
Yeah.
see them doing something every day. They're just so much more in the public eye and used better that, and have been more consistently for a long time. So it's like when Kermit comes back, maybe everybody's like, "What's Kermit gonna be like?" And then if he's a little different than they expect, they're like, "Ah." But the Sesame Street Muppets have had just like a steady gradation of characterization for so long that maybe that's why it's just like you just don't notice.
I think there's also the fact of like they were still using lots of Jim clips on Sesame Street for years after Jim died.
That's true.
And so there wasn't as much attention brought to, and
Yeah.
now Kermit's going to sound different because
Yeah.
this dramatic thing happened in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone was like waiting to hear the new Kermit sort of thing.
Yeah.
Versus, for years, if you have, I don't know why it's different. Because I'm trying to think now even about like Muppets where you have like Rolf.
Right.
And these characters who like sort of disappear for a while and then come back with a new performer. And you're like, yeah, that's Rolf.
I mean, and probably a lot of it is, just like that was just Jim's voice.
It's just, I think it is. It's probably just more subjective. People have a very specific idea of what characters sound like in their heads, and certain characters they have a stronger attachment to.
Yeah. I think I thought of another good one. Uncle Deadly. He's a great
Uncle
new
Deadly.
performer.
Yeah. It's an entirely new character almost.
Yeah.
But Matt Vogel and what he has done with Uncle Deadly is perfection.
He made him one of the best guys, which is crazy if you watch like him on the Tonight Show or whatever, where he's like, this guy, he sucks. But
yeah. Good job, Matt Vogel, on that one.
There's a great question by Declan I just want to address real quick. The project of Kermitment has clearly deepened your understanding of the Muppets and puppetry, but I was wondering if it had any effect on your understanding of or engagement with television and media in general. For example, has it changed the way you consume content or had any impact on your conception of the 50s through the 80s entertainment? I would actually say it had a bigger impact on how small history is when you think about like what it really, when I do my, and I know I don't do very good research on this, but when I'm like, at the same time this happened, and
Right.
back in the 60s when it was like Jim's doing this and the civil rights movement's happening at the same time. And I think there's a lot of like complicated reasons that maybe you're not exactly taught how recent the civil rights stuff was and how maybe it's made to look older than it is in some ways, which maybe is just me being a conspiracy theorist. But just like looking back and seeing that things were never really all that different than they are now feels good and bad at the same time. Like when you can look back and understand the humor of people in the 50s and be like, oh, I get what you were going through, or like, oh, that person's nasty and you thought they were nasty back then too. Like, I don't
Right.
know. It just feels like there's an arc there that is kind of comforting in a weird way, but also kind of like, it's just the same problems we've always had. What the fuck?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some of that. You watch some things and you're like, "Oh, that's what you thought was acceptable at the time."
Big time that, yeah.
But it is nice that we've also been exposed to a lot of things from the eras where you might assume everything sucks. And we
Yes.
watch a talk show appearance from 1962 or something like that, and they're making like actually good progressive
Yeah.
stances on something, and you're like, "Oh, good.
Yeah.
There were
Like somebody
people
wrote a book
saying the
about
right
that
things."
in 1964. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And so, yeah, I think that has been nice to see. I do think it has changed some of the way I consume content. I think it made me more interested in some of, some older movies and some different time periods of television in a
Mm-hmm.
way that I wouldn't have been interested in. I think even just like the discovery of, Godzilla and the Muppets being the same age was one of those
Yeah.
things where I was
That's
like,
so
well,
wild.
now I feel like I need to watch the Godzilla movies in a way where I can think about what Muppet movie was coming out at the same time as this Godzilla movie. Like,
Yeah. And how those things could possibly exist in the same universe, nonetheless, in the same year.
yeah. Or like somebody pointed out when we were talking recently about when Rolf talking about going to the World's Fair, that's the World's Fair that It's a Small World was at.
Yeah.
And they had the realization, I think this was on Twitter or something like that. Somebody was like, I'm now imagining that like Walt Disney and Jim Henson could have been at the same event at
Yeah.
some point.
Walking around past each other or like writing Small World at the same time.
Right. And like, obviously, we don't know that Jim went to the World's Fair. I don't think we have any record of that. Rolf said he went to the World's Fair. That doesn't mean
Okay.
Jim actually went to the World's Fair.
I would be shocked if he didn't, but yes,
He's
I
in New
understand your
York,
point.
World's Fair happening. He probably went.
Yeah.
But like to think of Jim Henson and Disney, you think of Michael Eisner and the deal not going through before Jim died, and then eventually Disney buying. You don't think about Jim Henson being in New York and seeing Walt Disney talk about It's a
And
Small
them
World.
being alive at the same time even kind of is weird to think about.
Yeah, like they don't seem like peers, but they kind of were.
Yeah.
And so the idea that Walt Disney also could have seen Kermit the Frog is weird.
Yeah. He almost definitely did.
Yeah, maybe he was watching Rolf and like, I love that dog. Can we buy him?
Hilarious dog. Yeah.
So
He
yeah, I
will
think it's
be mine.
recontextualized a lot of things for me historically, where it's just like, oh yeah, that's the black and white TV days. That all gets lumped together. And I think this helps when we're talking through year by year of like, oh no, these things. It is more interesting that these things were happening at the same time because there were only 3 channels on TV, and 2 of them were these huge things we've heard of, and the third one is something we never knew existed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's time to mosey on out of this here Kermitment. Before we go, I gotta ask Sam, what non-Muppet things did you enjoy this week?
I went to see the new Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. It was fine. It was I've seen a lot of people say that it felt like an episode of the real Ghostbusters. That's a little rude because real Ghostbusters wasn't very good, but they're it was also fun to watch the real Ghostbusters because they're just going on a fun adventure instead of it's fun to see the Ghostbusters go on like a fun adventure more frequently, and this did feel like kind of a rousing adventure. It didn't quite go far enough in that direction for me, and it has too many plots going on. There's too many characters they bring back from the first movie the first new movie,
right?
Who I genuinely do not remember.
You mean Podcast?
How could I forget Podcasts? there's just a little too much going on in it, and so no character gets a chance to shine. And the main kid, McKenna Grace, who plays like Egon's granddaughter, is great, and she should get to be more of the focus of the movie than she is. And I think that that's what they wanted as well. It just is like pulled in so many different directions, but it was really fun to watch. And there was a lot of kids there who were like had like the popcorn buckets, and like
Interesting.
seemed like the collectible popcorn buckets, and seemed really excited about it, which was fun. And I could definitely see them making like 3 more of these Ghostbusters movies,
Right.
because it was just a kids movie in a way that feels really weird when you think about what the Ghostbusters was.
Think about Dan Aykroyd's sexual exploits with a ghost.
There's a moment where they're so close where they could make that leap, but they don't do it. And it's just like, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it is just, there's a moment where it's like, talk about him getting the ghost flow job, do it, but they don't do it. But Dan Aykroyd is really good in it.
All right.
He is the part where it's like so fun to see him be that guy again, and he gets to be in it a lot. So it's not like the last one where they just show up at the end.
Yeah.
Like everybody but Bill Murray is in it quite a bit. Bill Murray just shows up a couple times and he's like, "What's up? Give me $100,000. Okay, see you later." But Dan Aykroyd's very fun in it.
Nice.
So I wouldn't recommend seeing it on anything, but you stream it. I would stream it. How about you?
I was at my parents' for the week, and just the TV is always on because that's how parent houses are.
Parents love to watch TV.
But they also don't.
Yeah, that's true. They like to fall asleep, or they like turn it on and wander
Nothing's
away.
ever on, but this TV will be on 24 hours a day. There was some American Pickers and Pawn Stars and a lot of that happening.
Great parent TV.
But the stuff I was watching that I enjoyed more was some new Simpsons.
Oh,
we had FX on, and they had a bunch of newer season Simpsons, and there were some good episodes that I had never seen before because they're from like the last 5 years, and I haven't checked in on Simpsons in a while. But there was like a whole episode that opens up with like a focus on the sea captain and his life. And like for the first 5 minutes of this episode, it's only about the sea captain and how he got to be where he is in Springfield. And I'm like, yeah, give me this.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So I guess check out New Simpsons.
Huh.
Well, before we go, we got to let you know what we'll be watching next time. And next time we are getting back to our chronological order, back to 1986, the year of Sesame Street Season 18, Muppet Babies Season 3, The Christmas Toy, Labyrinth, and then Tale of Bunny Picnic.
Look how far you've come, Jim. From The Cube to Tale of Bunny Picnic.
But next time we'll be in January of 1986, which means it's time for a brand new season of Fraggle Rock.
Phew, I was so scared you were going to say Muppet Babies.
We will be back next time to watch and discuss the first 3 episodes of Fraggle Rock Season 4. And just a reminder, sometimes the episode order on Apple TV Plus can be a little different than what's on Muppet Wiki, but we're using Muppet Wiki's order. So the episodes we'll be watching are Sprocket's Big Adventure, Wembley's Wonderful Whoopee Water,
okay, gross.
And Side Bottom Blues.
Ew, 2 of those sound like nasty sexual things.
Well,
I'm excited about Sprocket's Big Adventure. I know what that one is about.
Yeah, and because we're talking about Sprocket's Big Adventure, we're going to be joined by the writer of that episode, Sujith Varghese, is a return guest to Kermitment.
Is he our first return guest?
He is our first returning guest.
Wow, great.
He's going to come back and talk to us specifically about Sprocket's Big Adventure and what it was like to write that episode.
Cool.
But for now, we need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing that great theme song we got at the top of each episode. Don't forget to go to commitmentstuff.com if you want to pick up your own Keep Believing, Keep Pretending hat, just like Mr. B swears.
Yeah, just like contractually, he's obligated to wear the hat. We're in the cube, he's wearing the hat. It's a fair trade.
If you want to email us questions that we can answer in a future questions episode, you can do that at mail@commitment.com, or you can follow this podcast everywhere on social media at CommitmentPod. And you can follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.